As a rule, we do not ask verb-led questions because they lead to short answers and lies. We don't ask questions like, are you looking for a cash offer? When are you moving? Who are the decision makers? Will you make a decision today? Or is now a good time? And again, these questions, when they answer them, don't give you a lot of intel. These are really easily lied to. And our job, again, in extracting truth, meaning, and intent, is to be truth seekers. And so how do we do that? We want to ask a lot of what questions and how questions. These questions are open-ended and allow them to fill the space. These questions sound like, what happens next? What stopped you from signing with? How will you know you're working with the right person? How were you hoping we could help? The third question, how will you know you're working with the right person? If you ask this question and when they answer it, they're literally going to give you the keys to unlocking this relationship. Now, my daughters are in piano school, and we had this piano recital. And at this recital, they required some parent volunteers. And the other parent volunteer was a school teacher. So she and I were at the piano recital, and the kids were getting a little rowdy. So she wanted to calm them down. She says to them, I've got an idea. Let's play a game. All the kids calm down. They're paying attention to her. And she says to them, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100. What would you ask? Myself, first question I would ask is that number more or less than 50? And that's what the first kid asks. What does my daughter ask? What's the tens digit? Can you see? And asking an open-ended question, how much faster you can get to the truth. How did the teacher respond? That's against the rules. What is she doing? Teaching her kids how not to ask the right questions. I want to take a moment to really emphasize on we ask what stopped you from signing with the other person versus a why question of why didn't you sign with the other person? And the reason why we don't ask a lot of why questions is because why leads to a defensive answer. I want you to think about growing up, when your parents asked you a why question, what were those questions? Why is the TV still on? Why are all the lights on? Or why is your homework not done yet? Why is your room a mess? It was never, why do I love you so much? Why did God bless me with such a wonderful child? Why are you such a great kid? So the why questions are always an accusatory question, then the natural answer to it is to be defensive. So if you ask them, well, why didn't you sign with the other guy? Or why don't you go with a realtor? They're going to think, maybe I should have signed with the other guy. Maybe I should go with a realtor. Versus, what stopped you from signing with the other guy? What stopped you from going with the realtor? They're going to think, and they're going to give you all the different reasons why they didn't want to go with the other person, right? So don't ask why questions. Ask what and how questions. And don't ruin a good thing with a yes or no modifier. What I mean by that is you might be tempted to ask a great question, but you finish a question with right, correct, agreed, doesn't it, wouldn't it? You ask a great question, let them answer it. You make a great statement, let them address it. Do not end it with a yes or no modifier because again, our job is to seek the truth, is to gather intel. And you end it with a yes or no modifier, you're gonna get a yes or no answer, which gives you very little intel to move forward. Here are a few examples. Sounds like getting a guaranteed offer is important. Versus, sounds like getting a guaranteed offer is important, isn't it? You can see the first one, they're gonna answer it with giving you more information. The second one is gonna be like, well, yes, of course it is. Another one is, and you're not gonna take $1 less than $100,000. They'll think about it. They might respond, well, maybe I'll do this or whatever. Versus, and you won't take an offer less than $100,000, correct? They'll say, yeah, that's correct. And now where are you? You're stuck. Last example, you're looking for the most amount of money, or you're looking for the most amount of money, right? First one, they'll give you some more information. Second one, they're gonna answer it yes, and now you've got no additional intel. You also want to stop and pause. If you ask a great question or you make a great label, stop. Let it ruminate. Let them think about it so they can answer it. Do not ask another question right after you just finished asking a question. Pause, let it simmer, take advantage of that awkward silence. They will fill it and you will gather intel. Growing up, I went to speech and debate in high school. Now I know a little bit of a nerdy thing, but what we learned was that it was okay to pause, gather your thoughts. No one ever judged you for pausing. I want you to think the last time you bought something and the salesperson took some time to gather their thoughts. Did you jump all over him or her? No. You're a respectful human being. Same thing here. If you need to pause to gather your thoughts with a homeowner, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to know the future, bring it to the present. If you were to ask somebody, what's 3 plus 3, they're probably going to answer it very quickly, hopefully with the right answer. If you were to ask myself or someone else on my team, what's 3 plus 3, we're going to pause. Boy, that's a very interesting question. I'm curious, what brought you to ask me that question right now? What are we doing here? We're reversing. We're trying to figure out what's going on. Now, that's an extremely ridiculous example, but I'd rather you be on this ridiculous end of the spectrum than where you might be today. So whatever question they ask, don't answer it. Find out what's the meaning behind the question. So another example might be, talk to a prospect and it says, well, give me a call back at 3 o'clock. Great, I'll give you a call back at 3 o'clock. When I call you back at 3, what will we be discussing then? You want to know the agenda ahead of time, right? And if you get the agenda ahead of time, you might be able to still talk about it right now. Or the classic, if I can pay your price, will you sign today? Kind of strong. I don't know if I can pay your price. If I can come up to your price, what will happen next? Now we're bringing the future into the present. We're not making an offer until they tell us they're ready to sign. You say, if I can pay your price, what happens next? And they say, well, I'm meeting with so-and-so. Guess what? We're not making our offer yet. So if you want to know the future, bring it into the present. Have you had a prospect ask you, well, what's your website? Can you send me some information? Can you show me some reviews? Old us, we would have just sent it to them, right? We might have even sent a brochure in a fancy envelope or whatever. Taking time, labor, materials, postage, and so on. When in reality, they were just wasting our time. So now when someone says, can you send me so-and-so? We'll just ask them, let's pretend I send you that and you like it. What would happen next? And they say, well, if we like it, then we'll do business with you. At that time, we will send it. More often than not, if I send you the proof of funds, if I send you this bank statement, if I could send you the website and you like what happens next, and like, well, I still need to think about it, they're just spinning your wheels. Don't do that. I remember long ago when I would have a lead come in, right? My pay-per-click website, they submit it, I look at it, looks like a hot lead. Call my wife, cancel whatever we got going on so I can rush over to that house. And when I got there, seller wasn't that motivated. They were still meeting with other people. What ended up happening? I wasted a lot of time, right? Also wasn't helping myself at home. Now, when a lead comes in, it sounds super hot, I'm gonna call them, right? To decide if I wanna cancel everything and rush on over. Mr. Homeowner, if I come over and we come to terms, you like my offer, what happens next? And the guy says, I'll sign a contract. At that point, I will cancel whatever else I got going on. But if it's not, I'll sign it, then we're just booking an appointment. There's no reason to cancel everything you got going on for a seller that's not ready to sign with you then and there. What we've learned from neurolinguistics programming is that people process the world in different ways. They're visual-based, audio-based, and kinesthetic-based. If you're dealing with a visually based person, you're gonna wanna use words that are more in alignment with how they process the world. You're gonna use words like looks, seems, appears, pictures, views, shows, reviews, clear. And when you hear these words from them, you wanna use it back. So it seems like you're upset about this. It appears you're a little frustrated. You're trying to get a view of the situation. However, if you're dealing with an audio-based person, you're gonna hear words like sounds, heard, rings, listen, tune in, all ears, silence, resonate, say it, loud, noisy, tell. When you hear these words, when you're labeling to address them, sounds like you're a little frustrated. If I heard you correctly, does it ring true? Listen. And when you're dealing with a kinesthetic-based person, you're gonna hear words like feels, grip, handle, grasp, touch, hold, slip, solid, firm, tension. When you hear these words, you wanna use, when you're labeling, feels like you're uncomfortable here. You're trying to get a grip on the situation, trying to get a handle on the matter. And when you use these words to reflect back on how they communicate, you're gonna resonate more with them. You ever dealt with somebody and you can't tell why you don't like them, but you just know that you don't connect with them? It's these little things. Sales is a slight edge sport. You got to take advantage of every opportunity, every technique, whatever you can do to minimize this chance of losing rapport with a homeowner. Have you ever been to a playground or maybe the mall and you watch a kid run and trip and get hurt? And when they ran over the mom, all mom had to do was kiss the elbow or the knee and everything was better? Or maybe you've seen kids that are kind of like my kids, where even though they're not bleeding, if they got a Band-Aid, they feel better. I don't know how many Band-Aids we waste a year, because when they come up to me and they're not bleeding, I say they're not bleeding, they don't get a Band-Aid. Mom comes over, gives them a Band-Aid, and everything feels better. When you got a prospect that's in pain, and you can label it and address it verbally, what you've done is the adult version of mommy kissing their boo-boo. So what you want to do is you want to label, you want to address what it is they're going through, and if you can do it appropriately, you can demonstrate that you're listening. You can demonstrate empathy. And if you can demonstrate empathy, you're going to have a prospect that feels heard, that feels listened to, that feels seen. One of the things that we've heard from other sales trainers is you got to agree with the prospect. And I strongly disagree with that. You don't have to agree with the prospect. You just need to address them. You need to acknowledge their pain. If you can acknowledge their pain, then it reduces the pain that they're experiencing. So again, you heard us say a moment ago, sounds like, feels like, seems like you're frustrated. And if you can do this effectively, you're going to be able to build more rapport. Mary Kay, she said a long time ago, if you could just imagine everyone walking around with a sign that says, I need love. If you can act in that way, you will connect with more people, develop more rapport, and then be able to buy more houses. As you progress in your sales career and become a better salesperson, you'll find yourself turning questions into statements. As we said earlier, making assumptions is part of our process, but really making poor assumptions is part of our process. So you hear things like, probably caught you at a bad time. Sounds like you're getting a lot of calls. I get the feeling that it's over. Seems like getting a guaranteed offer is important. Sounds like you're ready to get this over with. And if you can do this consistently, again, if you can make statements, they'll correct you, right? Versus if you ask a question, they might be able to lie to you. But we know that human beings do not have the capability to lie to you when they're correcting you. And so if you make a statement and you're wrong, they'll correct you. If you're right, they'll confirm what you said. Either way, you're effectively gathering intel. Think about the last time you were at a restaurant where you ate, the food was really good, and you're stuffed completely full, and that dessert cart comes over, and all that fullness you had in your stomach, suddenly you got a little bit of room, right? What was that old ad? We all have room for Jell-O. I feel like we always have room for dessert. Well, people might be too busy. If you ask people questions, they might not be able to answer for you because they're too busy. However, we all have the time in the world to correct people. So if you make a statement and you're wrong, they will correct you and they feel good about it psychologically. I'll give you an example. I got my friend Brandon, and they're having a gender reveal party. Nothing crazy, not a forest burning event. It was just a simple, come over for dinner, and we're gonna have a gender reveal. And I was, kind of tired. I was like, hey, Brandon, I'm kind of tired. I'm kind of busy. I don't really need to come over. I already know you're having a boy. To which he replies, no, we're having a girl. I didn't know these sales techniques at this time. As a matter of fact, we ended up going over, and he said his wife was upset because he told me that they were having a girl before the gender reveal party. And when she asked him why he did that, he says, I don't know, Steve pulled some ninja crap on me. In reality, that's what I did. I just didn't know at that time that's what I was doing. So again, if I said, hey, Brandon, I don't really want to come over to the gender reveal party. Are you having a boy or a girl? He's going to say, come on over. I'm not telling you. But because I said, I already know you're having a boy, he corrected me immediately and said they're having a girl. And so I want you to look at a couple of these slides here. We have on this Facebook post, right? This is Real Estate Disruptors. This is my Facebook group. And in this 11 hours, 378 people saw this post. He was asking for help. What should I do? Again, 378 people saw this post. There were 0 reactions and 0 comments. Then we got this other post, wholesaling houses full-time, admittedly 10 times larger. In 3 hours, this guy says paying a coach is a waste of money. And he got 148 reactions and 243 comments. By making a statement, whether it's popular or not, people will jump all over it. But if you ask a question, people are just too busy.